Alright, welcome back. In this video, we're going to go over how to do domino conversions. This is another thing that we covered a whole bunch in quarter one. Domino conversions. The purpose of domino conversions is to convert from one unit into another unit. So we're not actually changing what we're measuring at all. The thing itself stays the same. The purpose is to convert between units. So you measure something in inches, but you want it in centimeters. You measure something in feet, but you want it in miles or kilometers or football fields or whatever. So when we did this originally, you did a lab where you measured your pencil in miles. You measured, a coffee cup in, I forget what it was. No, there wasn't a coffee cup. You figured out how long you could hold your breath in years. So it's all about taking the same thing and just saying it in a different way, changing the unit. So you just learned about the unit mole. Guess what? Guess what we're going to be doing? We're going to be converting today, step one of this whole thing is converting in and out of moles. All right, so the purpose is to convert your units. And again, the actual amount does not change. You don't hold your breath longer just because you're measuring in years. You've just got a smaller number. If you're measuring in seconds, somewhat bigger number. If you're measuring in years, pretty small number. So it's the unit that we're changing with these domino conversions. The whole purpose is to convert between different units. Okay, it's gonna get dark for a hot second. Okay. Cool. And kind of the big ideas of domino conversions, you always start with whatever you're given. Let's just take that seconds question. Let's see, you held your breath for 28 seconds. You may get a cameo for my cat, by the way. Hi. Yeah, okay, bye-bye. Let's say you want to take that to years. So take your original measurement. That original measurement goes on the top of your first fraction. And then all of these other things are going to follow a pattern. So whatever you start with, that unit you start with starts on top. You're going to cancel it out, take it from the top to bottom. This is one giant fraction. Units work the same way as numbers. You have seconds divided by seconds. Anything divided by itself is 1. All right, but what we actually want to do is we want to convert between those units. So let's convert that to minutes. I'm just going to walk you through this as an example. You know these things. You want to get to years. Minutes are not years, but we know how many minutes are in an hour. We know how many hours are in a day. We know how many days are in a year. If you want to see that a little bit slower, feel free to watch through it as much as you'd like. But you start to see this pattern, right? So you start with the unit that you start with, cancel it out on the bottom of the next fraction, convert it to the unit that you can convert it into. But we're not done. We're going to take that from the top to the bottom of the next fraction, cancel that. Still not done. Okay, we're going on our way though. Hours are closer to years, but not done. Cancel it out. Days are even closer than hours were, but they're not done yet. We're going to cancel out our days also. And finally, we know how many days are in a year. Now we can solve for how many seconds, how long you held your breath. And that last unit left on top is the unit that you're solving for. I'm just giving myself a little bit more space right there. In theory, I could write it over on that edge of the paper. The last unit left on top is the unit that you're solving for. In every single domino conversion, which again is going to take us through week 6 or 7 of this class, so you're going to have a lot of domino conversions in your life, the key is the units. Kind of like in polyatomics, the key was the charge. The key is always do your units first. And what that means is take what you're starting with and figure out this whole rigmarole, this whole dance to get you from where you're starting through a bunch of stuff that you know to the unit that you're actually ending in. A lot of these units you haven't seen yet. For example, moles is a new unit, but today's whole purpose is to get you converting things in and out of the unit of moles. Yeah, so even as you kind of grow in which units you know, this pattern is going to stay exactly the same. This kind of, it's not a do-si-do, it's a little, disco. When you had a kid draw this whole, I'm not an artist, but she drew this whole thing on the board about how, like, you know, when you disco, there's your hand initially, and then here's your hand afterwards. This is, you know, domino pattern is fine, but like it's also a disco pattern. Take whatever's on top, cancel it out on the bottom, disco it again, until you have what you actually want left on top. Do all your units first. The numbers always follow the units. For example, 1 minute is 60 seconds. Often I have people like, well, I know there's a 60 here somewhere. It goes somewhere. I'm like, yes, you are correct. Do the units. The units will tell you where that 60 goes. Do it again. Something about 60. Is it 60 hours in a minute or 60 minutes in an hour? 60 minutes in an hour. 60 minutes in how many hours? 60 minutes in 1 hour. Okay, 24 hours in a day. Does that 24, is 24 days in an hour or 24 hours in a day? 24 hours in a day, 365 days in 1 year. And now you have yourself set up. Now you can take your calculator, and in your calculator, multiply all the stuff across the top. So your calculator number here, have a little bit more space right there. You're going to say 28 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. Cool. Divided by 60 times 60. I'm just taking these numbers off the bottom. 1 times 60 times 60 times 24 times 35. 365. Let's get the numbers right. Yeah. 365 days in a year. 0.25 if y'all want that. That's cool. You don't have to write this step, but I wanted to show you for this example video where those numbers are coming from. I don't know where my calculator is right now, which is like a serious issue. I will be locating my calculator similarly. Y'all may want to be figuring out where your calculators are also. I'm just going to do this in a different computer window. Google has calculator, which you are probably not surprised to hear. As I'm typing this into my calculator, I am writing, so 28 divided by, put parentheses around all that stuff on the bottom. Without those parentheses, you're going to wind up multiplying by some of this stuff, which you do not want. You want all of that stuff to stay in the bottom. So that's what you're going to type in if you're using Google, which is totally fine. Yeah, I'm just going to do this so I can give you a number. So I've got my parentheses around that entire denominator. Numbers in the denominator, 60 times 60 times 24 times 365. And I put parentheses again around that entire denominator so that my calculator knows that I want to divide by all of that. Okay, and calculator says, and then some more stuff, and it gives me this. And I think we talked about this last quarter, what that E means. Your calculator may give you a capital E. Google just gave me a lowercase e. That is the exponent of 10. Let's move this up. Exponent of 10. So what that answer means is, and I just kept 3 sig figs. You could keep 2, right? Because we started with some numbers with only, our regional measurement only had 2 sig figs, so our answer is only going to have 2 sig figs. if you don't remember sig figs, that's okay. Give it your best shot. That's fine. So that e turns into the exponent of 10. And it matches what we think. Our unit is still years. If you hold your breath for 28 seconds, that amount of time that you just held your breath doesn't change. Only thing we changed was the unit. We just solved that out for years. And this number makes sense. That's a really small number. You could rewatch the scientific notation video, figure out what that looks like if you write out all the zeros. You're going to find that scientific notation is really nice because you don't have to deal with the zeros. You can just say that that's a really little number. That's what that exponent of 10 means, is it's really little. Yeah, so it's kind of a review on domino conversions, including how, your units are the key that guides all your numbers. When you get to your calculator step, you're just pulling out your numbers and plugging them into your calculator. Here's how to write that so that you keep all the denominator stuff in the denominator. How to translate your calculator if it gives you an e, that's an exponent of 10. Final answer, including that unit. That's the unit that we wanted to solve for, so we are done.